This is a special one. Okay, Guru Nation, we're here at SOS, fresh off the panel, man. Andrew,
Thank you.
I was a little bit
Thank you for
worried
having
because I
me
had
here.
like all these Type A people on there, and then I'm like, dude, we got 50 minutes. Then I did the icebreaker with Brad. And I'm like, 48 minutes with all these all stars. Let's get
Huh.
going. So I kind of threw the script out, and then we had Q&A on top of it. But how do you think you did? Like, what do you feel? Do you feel like the message resonated, or?
I think the message resonated, and I think the message came across like, don't be scared to start dipping your toe in the water with
It's
AI.
such a
It's
novel
not,
thing and ambiguous, and
yeah,
you
yeah,
can't even grasp it. Like,
but it isn't just one thing.
exactly.
And it's like this concept of like what's the right tool for which job, and it's not just use ChatGPT for
Right,
everything.
right.
I think that came across. What I was hoping was going to cross, and I'm not sure, and maybe it did, is also as from an organizational perspective, if we want to keep and retain the best talent and have people that are motivated and work for us, we have a responsibility to invest in AI as well, because like nobody wants to go to work and use a fax machine anymore.
Right.
And that's the way things are going very, very fast.
Yeah.
So it's, yes, you need to use it, you need to recognize and you need to put in places governance and all that around AI, because whether you like it
Yeah.
or not, people are going to use it. They're going to pull out their phones. They're going to start using AI. But then there's also the topic that was before us, the other panel that Brad was on, which
They're
is
all
how
related.
do you retain the best talent and how do you keep people motivated and people
And the
want
one
to be
before that,
productive.
SOPs.
Exactly.
And the one after that, fraud.
Yes.
Like, they're
yes.
all
Well, fraud is scary. What can
poking
be done
to
with
the
AI?
same thing.
Yeah.
You know what the AI reminds me of? Because like we all think of it as something separate, and you're right. It's like electricity when it was invented. Like, imagine if we were doing clinical research when they like right when electricity was discovered, and we were using kerosene lamps before.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
all the sites would be like, oh, like they would do a panel on this. How do we use electricity in our site?
Yeah.
Now it's so foolish to think like AI is like electricity. It's more like the better question is, what is it gonna power? What is it going to let you do? It's not. It's just like not a one thing that you, like in a box, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know.
But it's evolving so fast, and the techniques to use it, how you use it, are evolving so fast that I think that, and
You needed electricians back then to like wire your house, wire your
yeah,
office.
yeah. But it's
Yeah.
like with like it's like the cell phone industry. We went through 5G, 4G. All that.
Yeah.
It's like it's happening, but it's happening so fast. Those jumps between the different the kind of next steps in the technology.
True. True.
And so it's learning something new, realizing that there's change, accepting the change, figuring out how you incorporate it, but then this, how fast you have to upskill and stay on top of that.
Yes, and this stuff's happening.
Because you've been
quickly.
using it for years.
AI.
Well, yeah.
Kind yeah, 2 years really. Like when I first heard about ChatGPT, I played with it, and like using it seriously now every day, easily. Like even when I'm at the conference.
When did you start captioning your videos with using AI?
Like a year ago. Yeah.
And it's gotten better and
no-brainer.
better.
It's no brainer. Now, that's a good one. I find myself doing not less mundane tasks, just different. So instead of going and tagging and looking what tags work, it does it. I don't need to do that. What I have to do now is like click export a bunch of times and then wait
Yeah.
and then click schedule and make sure the times. I'm sure I could automate that somehow,
Yeah,
but
I'm sure you
like it's just replacing like old grunt work, but the overall output is greater output for the end user
and
right?
more consistent,
More consistent. Correct.
which in
correct.
our context of clinical trials is really important.
Right. So you're not losing a job. And you're not even necessarily reducing mundane tasks. You're just changing them in a way to where they're optimized towards a greater output.
One of the other topics that we touched on, I'd like your thoughts on more, and maybe it's more me interviewing you than you interviewing me.
Yeah. I mean,
Is AI and tools we typically have gotten from sponsors and we've gotten from CROs, and it's like, here's that study portal to log into. How much do you think it's changing in terms of, yes, we'll still get those. Okay, nothing's going to change from that respect. But sites are also, it's easier to have your own set of tools that maybe complement is being provided to help you run the trial.
I think internally, like the breakout session we discussed,
Yeah.
having like it's one thing, and sponsors have had these tools for a while, endpoints or clue points, whatever it's called, what the FDA uses and the big pharma use. Big data, like the minute they had big data, they were able to have algorithms. I remember Metadata talking about this like a decade ago. Oh, with algorithm, we could detect fraud, we can detect favorite numbers.
Yeah.
The only difference is now sites have the same capability because it's been more democratized, and it's not sites are not going to want to detect fraud at their site. They're going to know if they're doing fraud or not.
Yeah.
They're going to want to know where's our bottlenecks. Like, how come these patients are no shows?
But it's what questions do you ask, and what's the right way to ask those questions, because everything costs something.
Yeah,
Whether it's
yeah.
the time that you're spending clicking the buttons,
Yeah.
or whether it's what you're paying, to a vendor like Snowflake for
Yeah.
essentially the electricity of running the database,
Yeah.
or the tokens because you're calling a large language model that you're, like, it's knowing what those questions are. That's really important.
I
And
think it's
having the
internal,
data to,
like making your business more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Not really growth. I think sites are doing it regardless. Growth, if they want to. It's managing and streamlining the bottlenecks. And now you know where you don't need to guess anymore. Well, if you set it up properly, you don't. Most sites haven't done it, myself included. But the tools are becoming to where you're going to be able to track, just like the remote work tools that
Yeah.
employers used during COVID.
Yep.
They can track keystrokes.
Yeah.
They know, and then
Yeah.
but there was workarounds. People
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
hacked it. There's ways you can check on the status of your site, not to be a police officer on your staff, but to solve problems. One of our issues is no-shows for psych studies. We do some psych studies, a lot of no-shows. I'm trying to find the bottleneck. We're using Patient Ace, one of the vendors.
Yeah.
They integrate to Creo, but that doesn't solve my problem. Why are these patients not showing up? When was the last text? When was the last
Do
call?
I need to organize an Uber to go pick them up? What are the
Exactly,
challenges? Like, what's the real?
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the script used? What was the response? Like, we're not tracking those sophisticated yet. But
So-
the tools are starting to pile into a way that it will soon be easier.
So we talk about the human in the loop with AI, and yes, that's important. And for drug safety, what we're trying to do is make it so that within minutes of an adverse event hitting your organization, you
Minutes.
essentially have a case that's the data of that adverse event in your safety system.
So it's not just SUSARs then, it's all AE.
All AEs. Doesn't matter what the source file is, doesn't matter if it's handwritten, doesn't matter if it's in French, doesn't matter if it's 10 source files, doesn't matter if it's structured or unstructured data, it doesn't matter if the data's in an EDC system and you haven't got,
like direct
gotten-
data entry.
Exactly. Anywhere. But our hope is that by having adverse events that become structured information so quickly from when they hit an organization, that it becomes more about the patient, and it becomes more about patient safety, and maybe there's an intervention point. But it's also that your teams that are so used to doing this routine work day in, day out, can start to look more at the human element and what is, the stories behind the numbers. And that's exactly what you're saying
That's what
there.
I'm
It's like,
trying to
what's
find.
the story
Yeah.
behind the numbers? What's really happening? Not just, oh, this is our percentage of people that
Right.
didn't appear. Like, what's really going on behind it?
Yes.
And AI is not
Why?
going to magically tell you that.
No. That takes effort.
Yeah, so we're not going to lose our job to AI figuring that stuff out.
No.
Well, not for a long time.
At least if you're only capable of doing that task, yes. But if
Yeah.
most people are not, for most people that is a means to an end, not the end in and of itself. Like mundane work is not the end goal. It's to
Yeah.
get to something else.
Yeah.
So if AI reduces that, you're closer to the end goal. You could spend more efforts on painting the narrative, and maybe your narrative is wrong. But like in science, you test the hypothesis, right? You can split test and see what works better.
Or maybe it's just about the fact that people do business with people. And if people feel like they're valued and appreciated, and you know who they are and you remember their names and things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, then they're more likely to make that little bit of effort that you need.
Yes. Well, internally, externally, when it comes to the patient no-show thing, we are using like human interactions, right? We're not automating that part. We're automating the leads to come into our database, but the outreach, other than the first initial auto text, is human. Then we're still getting no shows. So I'm still trying to dig deep into why in that regard. Like, how many texts did it take? The ones that did come, what was different from the ones that didn't?
And what are you
in
finding?
aggregate? I'm not measuring it yet.
So
These
you're
tools
just
are
getting-
here.
yeah.
Like, it's like going to do yard work. You have your shovel. Like, all this stuff is there, but you haven't really figured out like what's for what and kind of how to do it the best way. I think that's where most sites are at in this stage. Like, you've been introduced to a shovel,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and it's like you can dig with that thing, and then but
Yeah.
where do you dig, and then
Yeah.
why?
Yeah. Yeah. And how
We
should I
don't know
just-
those things.
Yeah. And how do I want my yard to look once I'm done?
Exactly. Well, that's
Yeah.
like high level. That's high level, right? So we're early, man, and I think it's exciting to just be able to see the things kind of materialize. I
Yeah.
know we're ways away, and interestingly enough, when you start making improvements to your process,
Yeah.
it creates something else somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's like never
Yeah.
gonna be
Yeah.
completely
Yeah.
solved.
I think what's exciting is it's gone from the promise of AI and people talking about all these wonderful use cases to, okay, it works. How do we do it? Like,
Yes.
it's the question is how
Yes.
for our organization, for what makes for sense, for who our users are. How do we implement it? Not about if we should or why we might want to,
Mm-hmm. Right.
or one day in the future it's going to radically change our, change the way we work. And yet we're so early, and everything
Yes.
is radical. Like, look at film and media and video. Like, it wasn't that long ago when you would have 6 fingers on a hand, and now some of the videos that are coming out.
That was last year. Like,
Yeah.
the images were
Yeah.
horrible, and now they're completely better.
Yeah, and they don't all look like they were generated by AI.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you're starting to like. It's funny because moving away from the site just into personal use of the AI, I take like a video like this. Maybe if I want to make this like to an article, I would talk to you about this, run it through ChatGPT, have a similar conversation with someone else. I can do this with every panelist, right? And
Yeah.
make a whole like summary about that panel. It will look good. It will quote you. I can find ways to humanize it later. So I've done this actually, where you go back and you're like, well, I know this is perfect grammar, but this is how I would say it, right? So you're like humanizing.
And it also makes it easier for you to like make that roast turkey over the weekend and then make it into different meals during the
There
week
you go.
that don't all taste the
Repurpose.
same, but like most of the work's already been done instead. Yeah.
That's a good analogy. Like, yeah, you made the roast turkey, got the leftover, and now you're gonna make the sandwich or the soup.
Or the stew or the curry.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like there's ways now to humanize
Yes.
the AI. One of I don't think it was you. Somebody else was telling me that their kids were using AI for their schoolwork.
That was me.
That was you.
Yeah, that was
And
me.
then they
Yeah.
figured out
Yeah.
how to run it through a filter to detect or to bypass those detectors.
Oh, no. Okay. Maybe this was a different one.
No, I know you said on the panel about the
yeah,
education.
Yeah, I was talking about the book that
At
you,
the party last
yeah.
night, somebody mentioned like, my kid is in school. I do tell him to use this. He uses it, but then we have to bypass the detector. Like, the dad's teaching them this.
Yeah.
And it's like so cool because like the school hates that, but like you're actually teaching a more valuable skill to the student than whatever the assignment was.
Yeah. One of the neighbors in our development, his daughter's at high school, and they were having a conversation around the dinner table talking, and they, for whatever random reason, they started talking about if you're going swimming and you're going to be attacked by a shark, are you more likely to be attacked by a shark if you're swimming or if you're surfing? And they didn't know. An hour later, they'd figured it out using ChatGPT. All the data is publicly available from the lifeguards.
it's surfing.
There's in PDFs as to the shark attacks, and they figured out how to pull the data based on the time of day and how deep you were in and where the.
That's what we need at the site level.
Yeah.
That level of
Yeah.
detail.
And it's like that's the kind of thing that historically you would have needed to do so much data entry to
Yes,
pull that,
yes.
and you would have needed a grant to do it. And,
Right.
or you would have needed the data standardized in the first place.
That's the part-
And the
that's
fact
hard.
that it doesn't need that, and
Yeah.
you can tell it where to go look, and it then what, it's
Like Creo is a good
Yeah.
example. One of our sponsors and a sponsor of this channel.
yeah,
They have and we integrate with Patient Ace. They have a patient portal, and you can choose to make traits for your patients, which is like this would help me establish. This is a person with major depressive disorder, like the communication stream and script that works best versus a bipolar versus someone with asthma. It will be different. But right now we don't have them segmented because it's a lot of manual work to do it. So we have to structure our own data basically, right?
yeah,
So we have just the default. This patient will go here, this one will go there. So our analytics are less sophisticated until the tech catches up. So you're almost like, should I waste time to structure it, or do I just wait for the tech to get so good that I don't need to?
Even when the tech gets good, like it's only as good as your data. So
structured data always better.
So it's always good to structure your data. It's always good to have clear definitions on
Okay,
what things are, and to have those kinds of standards.
Well, that's
It's
a
just
good
gonna make
tidbit
it a
then
lot
for the
easier.
sites.
Like it's worth spending the investment up front. I mean, that's why we have EDC. Like
Lana, you gotta
push
get
the
on that.
questions to where the data is being reported. Don't have somebody come back a week later to ask a question about it.
Yeah. Okay. Then that to me is a take
Yeah.
home
Yeah,
to spend time on setting up the traits. That's a lot of work, man.
it is a lot of
And
work.
we have like thousands of patients already.
It's
like
the same as with CRM system. Do you
Yeah.
just blindly send emails out, or do you
Yeah.
track are they a decision maker, or like, what
well,
kind of
listen, man.
organization?
It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
There are sites that don't send any emails out ever.
Mm-hmm.
So to them, just having a CRM and blindly sending them is a huge improvement over none. But then there's
Yeah.
the next level of like, let's
Yeah.
structure it and be sophisticated about it.
Yeah.
It's just different levels of professionalism.
And also like where's the right place to focus your attention?
Right.
Yeah.
When
'Cause
with
you might-
limited
yeah,
resources.
Yeah.
I know.
And you know what it's like to grind.
Yeah,
and
and this stuff
hustle
doesn't
and-
end because once you structure it, okay, but now let's say you got another study. Well, you got to build the traits out again, and now there's new tools that come out and show you something else. Then you tweak. So it's never ending game. So I don't
And do you
see
have an SOP for it?
which we gave. I have to look at it. I made Luis our chief AI officer because he loves that stuff. He's taking my coordinator. He's taking a course from Mexico City, a college in Mexico City on AI. So I'm putting him in charge of like all this stuff, structure the data, all that stuff. So he seems to be interested in that. I think you have to have natural interest in something to do the grunt work, because here we are talking about these tools will make your life easier, but the reality is they'll make your life easier if you do XYZ first.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
they don't really do anything.
They're not magic. They're math at the end of the day.
And it's work at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
all these fancy magic things to do, like it's still work. Work is work. You're
Yeah.
just making a mundane task like negligible.
Yeah.
But the tasks now become analyzing like what's all this, what's going on? Like
Yeah.
how do we what do
Yeah.
we make sense of
Yeah.
this? How do we proactively prevent?
Yep. And now there's more metadata and there's more other information and analytics that you can draw from it if you have the right know what the questions are you
Yeah.
want to be asking.
Yeah.
Like,
This is
why did my
crazy.
patient not make it to the appointment?
So that's the main issue right now. The website is Yiza. How do you pronounce it?
Yeza.ai.
Yeza.ai.
Yeza means medicine.
Yes.
Comes from Xhosa, and I'm originally from Cape Town.
That's right. That's right.
And it's also the language in Wakanda. So
Serious?
the Marvel universe, yes.
Can you speak it?
I learned it a little bit when I was at
So
school, but that was
when
a
you
very
watch
long
Black
time
Panther,
ago.
you can understand some.
I can recognize it a little bit.
Wow,
Yeah,
Yeza.
not a lot. but
Yeza.
it's
Has
been a
that
long
word ever
time.
come up in Black Panther? Yeza.
Well, it's the word. The word is Ieza, as that
Ieza.
means medicine. I don't know.
We gotta analyze
Yeah,
it with
yeah,
AI.
yeah. Or just
Awesome,
watch it.
man.
It's a good film, and
It's a good film.
sometimes you just Sometimes it's not always worth taking a shortcut. Sometimes you want to enjoy, the craft.
I found that with writing, it makes it easier. defeats writer's block by having the AI. But then, if I really enjoy the topic, I enjoy fixing it after, and it's almost like a game. Like I actually enjoy it versus trying to just crank it out, for the sake of cranking it out. And there's this Romanian philosopher. I don't know if I told you this. I'm reading this book called Solenoid by Mircea Cărtărescu.
Okay.
And he talks about whether it's content creators or entrepreneurs or poets or whatever, we all are in a way this.
Yeah.
Good content, good art, good solution is an escape to something, from something. But you go in most places, like imagine a hallway with like a bunch of painted doors.
Yeah.
They all look like they're real.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only a few that like can actually get you out of there if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just illusions. And it's the same thing with content. If you pour your passion into something, rather than just putting things out for the sake of it, those are just paintings.
Well,
Getting the escape, getting the person to escape is the art.
Well, when we met years and years ago,
It's like
and you
over a
had
decade ago.
Exactly, and you had your YouTube videos that you were doing. Like, when you started, you did not like you did it. I'm assuming that you did it without the intent of what accolades I'm going to get, how it's going to be received. You did it almost because it's like, I'm going to just keep doing this, and I'm going to be authentic in what I'm going to do, and let's see where it goes. Not this like, oh, do I have 1,000 followers yet? Oh, do I?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, somebody said something on that
That's the
it doesn't
nitty-gritty.
agree with what I say.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's like you're just putting yourself out there and you're getting into the experience and you're
Absolutely.
sharing. This is
Having an escape room. Having a look, if all I cared was the metrics, I would have quit a while ago. Like, it's not worth my time to grind videos in the first few years to get like 10 subscribers. Was not worth my time for that. But I know this video is going to help somebody. It helped me. I know if it helps me, I'm not alone in this world.
Yeah.
There's others like me. So you're essentially creating the escape for someone else, and like that's in their mind, and then they could actually do it in the real world. They attribute that to you. Good things will happen, and I didn't know what those good things were, but I knew that someone should do it. And by the way, I thought other people would have done this by now. That's why I rushed in 2010 to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting, really.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. But how's that different with AI? It's not about, yes, we want to get to all these wonderful goals at the end, but the key is the journey.
yeah. And helping someone escape something.
Yes.
Like you're doing with Yesa.
We're having fun.
Yeah.
And we want to make drug safety about patient safety.
And some sponsors will find their escape room.
Yes.
Through your thing.
Yes.
That's the only way. Man,
Yeah.
this
Thank
is great.
you. Yeah.
Like, subscribe, comment, share. Go follow Andrew Mitchell. His LinkedIn is underneath below. And you'll see the replay somewhere. They're debating what they're going to do with the replays. I'll find a way to get them on my channel. Don't worry. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, if you guys like that kind of content, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. Stay tuned for more videos.